Now the Zoom is also recording. Okay, so the CAS standards was presented to our committee, and I wanted to go through and just share some of that with you all. I wasn't sure who here was already familiar with the CAS standards, or if any of you had implemented them on your campuses or with your programs. Okay, it's looking like not yet. Okay. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're all here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by going through the COE presentation on CAS, just to have a basic understanding of it, and then lead you through the process for accessing the CAS standards for free if you're a COE member. And if you're not, then there's a $30 charge, and that's just per institution. So you can access this CAS standard for TRIO programs for your institution. So if you had other TRIO programs, you can share that same download with them. But the intent is that you don't share it with other campuses that are not COE members unless they're also just getting theirs. Okay, so let me just go ahead and start showing some of the history and intent behind CAS. So let's figure out where it went. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So can you all see that now? Great. Okay. So again, I am not a trainer in CAS standards. We were just trained in this, but I wanted to be able to share it with you as well. So these are some of the things that were covered in the presentation, just going through what CAS stands for, what it is, and just some additional information. Let's see. I wanted to highlight some of the specific slides for you all. So for some history about CAS, the consortium has been around since 1979. There's over 40 higher ed institutions and organizations that are part of that consortium. They've established these standards and guidelines, and then they update them accordingly. So in addition to TRIO, there's all sorts of things that are relevant all across campus, a lot regarding the student affairs side of things, but some other areas as well. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to move us in the Zoom out of the way here. There we go. Okay. So let me keep going here. Let's see. So part of the history that they were sharing was that the standards of TRIO helped lead the way in other areas on campus. So in some of the ways that I hadn't realized, that the ways in which we serve student populations in relation to college services started a lot with TRIO, and then were best practices that went far beyond TRIO. So some of the CAS standards and guidelines include the self-assessment, like I was saying, the importance in student affairs. They can help you if you're creating a program. They can help you evaluate your programs. And so I'm just trying to get through, just so you know what CAS is before we take the time to download it. So let's see. So on the CAS website, you'll see there's just this variety of different advising standards. And you'll see that most all of them are that $30 amount. And so that is waived for being a COE member for the TRIO one, but there's all these other ones that might be relevant to areas that you serve as well. So if like knowing more about the basic needs, programs and services, how to best practices and standards for that, different areas in student affairs and academic advising, all of that kind of stuff. So those are all in standards as well as the TRIO portion. So these are some of the areas that they thought might be helpful to the TRIO population as well. And let's keep going. So each of the standards have all of these components. And so when you're looking at the components of standards, you can work on just one of these specific standards or eventually get through all of them or just choose different ones that are relevant for you in the moment. So there's no need to go through and do all of them at the same time. That's taking on a lot, but maybe there's a specific area that you and your program or your institution are wanting to look at and start there. But you'll see with any of the standards, including the TRIO one, they all have these different categories of the standards that they address. So it also uses that verbiage that you'll see with our legs and regs about the musts and the shells and all of that kind of stuff too. So it still aligns with all of the TRIO legs and regs, not just as a best practice. So that was just an example. So that TCAP is just what they call anything when they're referencing the standard, because they reference it as TRIO and college access programs. So for those campuses that don't have TRIO but are utilizing the same standard for other college access programs, because they know the best practice of TRIO is the same way to kind of go along those lines for the other college access programs. Okay, so this is what I was just talking about, that it clarifies the standard would be the bigger and bolder, and then the guideline clarifies it. So it's appears in regular text. So when you're looking at a standard versus a guideline, you would be able to see the difference. And that's when it would be the should or may versus the required language. So again, they're just using examples from TRIO to show that. But we'll get into the specifics with the TRIO one. Okay, so they focus on these 6 domains. So you'll see that throughout. And I want to get us down to the fun stuff of getting it. Let's see. So then there's also, in addition to getting the standard, there's also the self-assessment guide. So this is an additional tool that can be helpful. It's not required to be implementing it, but it is helpful because it has the breakdown of each of those standards and then a way for you to rate yourself and give the feedback. So it's in a more structured setup. And that I believe is $65 for the TRIO one or for any other one if you were wanting that additional self-assessment guide. And so in that self-assessment, it goes through to help you, plan out the process, figure out who to have involved, how to get all that evidence to make your action plan, get your report, figure out everything for that whole process. So that is also available through this. And so they're just showing it with the visual now too, just all the steps that you would take as you're going through this process. And so the possibilities are endless. And I put that in the calendar invite too, that this could be as you're preparing to start a new grant cycle, or as you're preparing to write, for example, for talent search and EOC, to be considering all of this for program evaluation, for figuring out your CPPs, all of that stuff. And then for a program like Upward Bound, it could be just more of a mid-program review to be utilizing CAS standards in that way. So these are some of the self-assessments, outcomes that you could be considering if you were wanting to start going through that process. So let's get down to some of this. Oh, that was just from the training. Okay, so that was that training. So I didn't check in to see who was a COE member, but I feel like a lot of our Oregon programs are. And so you should be able to log in to your COE account and access that if you haven't already. So let me go over to COE website here. So if you're on the COE website and you go to, let's see. I guess it would be login. There we go. And then once you're logged in, then you would go to shop. So I'll give you all a chance to get to this point. And let me know if anyone has any questions about getting logged into COE. Trina, you're on mute.
I think I missed a step. I
Oh,
was
okay.
getting logged in.
Sure, no problem. So when you're getting logged into COE, once you're logged in, then you would click on shop. Do you see
Robin,
shop?
mine looked different.
Okay, it might
looks
be
like
because, yeah, it might be, let me stop sharing. It might be because I've already accessed it, so it gave me a
well,
different,
let me show
yeah,
you what mine looks like.
totally.
So mine stayed in the COE website
Great, okay.
and I just went to
Go to
store, not
store,
shop.
okay,
And then there it
wonderful,
is, and I hit add to cart.
wonderful.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's what
Okay,
mine
got
looks
it.
like.
thank
I don't
you,
know.
thank you. That's because I'd already done it, so I was already in a different screen. Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. So now when you get to your cart though, is it listing it with a charge?
No,
Oh, okay, great.
because because
Okay.
I logged in first.
Okay, great. So now when you check out, it is gonna provide you with a download, which is gonna give you a code to go, and this is why I wanted to do it as a group here, because then it's gonna give you a code to go into the CAS website to be able to log into that website to actually access it through CAS. So it was like a multi-step process here. So go through the COE part first and let me know when you're done with that, and then we'll move on to go over to CAS. And most likely you'll need to create an account unless you already have an account with CAS, or if your institution has an account and you know the login, you can use that. Otherwise, you can just create one for yourself. For those of you on here, let me know if you were able to do that step. I don't want to move on until you've been able to do that, but I don't want to hold you up either.
I think I've got it. I'm on
Nice.
a how to access your association standards page.
Um, Is that the download that it gave you after you?
Yeah, I clicked
Okay.
on a link that was on that checkout screen.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's exactly what mine looks like too. I didn't realize that was the language of accessing association standards that, but yes, and then you have a discount code at the bottom. The LP-COE probably. So concerned about the concentration faces and silence from everybody.
Okay, so now I'm in the functional area standards. Which one is there one that says trio or?
There is, yeah, they're alphabetical.
Okay.
Unless it's showing you like the new release. Did you already get into CAS? Did you already log in?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Oh, there it is.
Wonderful. So once you've been able to log in, then you'll be able to go to shop and see all the products. And then it's alphabetical. And so Trio is like a number of pages back. Let's see. Too far. Okay, so it looks like it's on page 7 if you're going through all of the store. And so you'll see the Trio and College Access Program Standards. And that is the one that you have the code to get for free. And then right above it is the Trio and College Access Program Self Assessment Guide. So if you decide you end up wanting that more complete guide to help your program and institution go through this with that additional tool, then that is also available to you. But for right now, we're focusing just on this one since you can access it for free, and then you would add it to the bag. And then once you have it in your bag, then you go over to your bag and check out. And you enter in your coupon or gift code, which I believe was the LP-COE. And then that removes the full cost of the item. And then once you complete that transaction of no money, then it should give you that download access with the full standard. So it will look like this, the CAS standards and guidelines.
Success.
Ah, Trina, thank you for the confirmation. I'm so glad it worked. Okay, great. Wonderful. Yeah, so that is available for your program and for your campus and for SSS. So I'll give it a little more time for others to get through that step as well. And then we can look at this CAS standard together. For our Western folks and others that are on the call, were any of you able to get through that as well? You are? Okay. You're on mute, so I couldn't tell.
Before we came on, I was went to the site and
Oh, okay. So
process.
yeah.
I was trying to be an overachiever here.
Oh, oh, Adrian was in the wrong CAS site, so you may have gotten something totally new and exciting in a
Okay.
different version. Okay, nice. Well, is there anybody that's still working on it that's wanting me to wait, or should we go ahead and, sounds like we could probably proceed then. And Kim, you were able to get it too? Okay. So this is likely what you are looking at. And I will just make mine a little bit bigger here. Okay, so as we go through, it just goes over the ethical request here that they don't want these to be duplicated or redistributed, but they are by institution, so you're good to share it at your institution. And this is what we were talking about during the slides about the standards use must and shall, and will appear in bold, whereas the guidelines will be in just regular text. So guidelines meaning more best practices, but not a requirement. So some of this is what we've already gone over, but as you're going through, you'll see that this one is all specific to TRIO, giving TRIO history, program descriptions, all that good stuff that you all already know about. But then when we get down here to page, it says page 7, that is where we actually start on the TRIO and College Access Program standards. So it goes through mission first. And again, just remember the TCAP is the TRIO and College Access Program. So they just incorporate them together. And then it goes through with these standards. And then it breaks each area down. So in the example in our training, they were talking about, for example, if it was helpful to start with the mission, you certainly could, but maybe if you're at a point where you're bringing in new staffing, that maybe looking at the HR standard would be the best place for you to start and feel on top of that. Or if there's other areas as we're going through here that feel most relevant, that you could always just start there. And then just do them in any order that feels best, or take on one per semester or year or something, because they have the different focus area and you might want different people involved in evaluating each of those different areas. So here we go with programs and services. So again, it goes through the different services and guidelines. So you can see in here all of this, and hopefully you're able to see your version, download that, and be able to share that with your staff. But this was my main goal, was to be able to get it to you and then to figure out what would be most beneficial moving forward in OTA. If talking through different ideas for implementation or how to utilize some of these different standards and work through it. This one, I know is feeling more tricky with different campuses right now. So the work is still, very valuable and necessary, and it's listed in our TRIO grants, and we're just gonna pivot the way we're naming it and responding to it. So this one, I was asking during the CAS training if they were going to be updating language, but this is our federal language with the standard in the TRIO legislation regulation. So that is the language that we are sticking with at this point. So CAS will figure that out in the future if they're feeling it needs to get realigned for institutions. But the work is there regardless of the name. So so you'll see all these different areas. So again, here's that human resources section that I was mentioning, if that might be a relevant place to start. And then as we go through, just gives these helpful approaches to doing the work.
So Robin,
Yes.
is this document or these standards something that we should be mentioning as we're writing our grants?
So I know that some programs list it when they're talking about in their program evaluation section that they might utilize CAS standards in their evaluation. And these can be incorporated when you're doing, for example, a program review or peer review that you could take these into account. So in your grant, you would want to still stick with exactly the way the grant application is asking for everything, but you could include and reference the CAS standard for sure as, as a best practice and beyond.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I felt like it was really timely as we're getting ready for the new SSS grants to start and for the talent search and EOC writes and rewrites. And then for those in Upward Bound and McNair that we're wanting to do a mid-program review. So even though this goes through everything for all the TRIO programs together, that was one of the questions I was asking, was if it was like responsive and relevant for each of the different TRIO programs. And the feedback I was given was yes, that it wasn't specific just to like the SSS program or something like that, that it should be able to go between all those different TRIO programs. So you'll see it goes through facilities, and I think that's the last one. So you'll see that they list right here when these were updated, and I was asking if there was going to be another update, and they were saying that they're thinking there will be, but there isn't one on its way right now. But like the Higher Education Act has not changed. All our legislation, regulation are all still the same. So all of this is still relevant, even though it hasn't had a comprehensive update in a number of years. So this is the TRIO CAS standards. And so now you all have access to that. And then as a state, we can figure out if this would be something that in over the summer or in the next year, if we were to take a different standard and start working through it and looking at it and having somebody present on it, we could do that on how to best evaluate that section for your program, we could look into that. So that is my little presentation on that. I'm glad you were able to access it. And so moving forward, it's just figuring out how you all would like to utilize it and if there's any support OTA can provide in getting you that access to utilize those standards. Any thoughts on where we should go from here, or any questions about the standards themselves at this point?
It's kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of information there.
I know, that's why I was wondering if we wanted to break it down. Could I get that code again? Yes, here, I'll put it in the chat. So there is the code. And CAS website. I will pop in there as well, but I think all of you are beyond that now. So there is that. So I guess as you're going through it, if you can think of a way that OTA can help support actually utilizing these rather than it feeling like another overwhelming thing, because that was not the intent. The intent was for it to be a supportive a reminder as you're looking at things, to have that as like a benchmark to help guide those best practices and reminders in your legislation regulation, but in a different format where it structures it there for everybody. Anything else for today? Okay, we've got some fun professional development coming up. We've got some different colleagues that are going to present. And so I will send out reminders next week with the lineup of everybody with the Zoom link, so you'll know what's coming for May. But I'm so grateful to have you here and to test out this little CAS standard access with me. Thank you for letting me remind you, I'm not a CAS standard expert. I was just trained in this the other day, but I wanted to be able to get the material to you all as quickly as possible. So hopefully that will turn out to be helpful. And if you find ways that you're going to start utilizing it with your program or colleagues, please let me know so we can make suggestions for other colleagues as well, because it's a resource that's been out there for forever. And I know way back in the olden days when I started at RCC, Renee McKenzie was the SSS director and was having Scott Clyde from Idaho was going to come over and do a review at RCC for CAS standards, and then got stuck in a snowstorm in Idaho and never made it. So we never had it, but I've heard about it ever since I first started at RCC. So I was excited to finally get that little bit of training and be able to read the standards myself and to get a better sense. So as OTA and NAOP are supporting the peer review process, we can also be supporting people in accessing and utilizing these CAS standards too. So as you're looking through them, if there's particular ones that you think, wow, it'd be great to have a training on that specific one or how to utilize that or implement that, I'm happy to do some research to try and find someone to do that as well. So just all food for thought, not trying to add more to your plate, but just to alleviate having to look for ideas of best practices. So hope that's helpful.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, always great to see you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
You
Robin.
too.
Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.